Okay. Now I am now coming to the next chapter, that is the damp and free. No problem is that I have some other things to do after this lecture class. I'm recording it, no problem. I will be giving a YouTube lecture for that. Okay. So now I am going to start a next chapter, that is your damp free vibration of single degree of freedom system. Basically, we are including the complexity of the single degree system step by step. So this is the first complexity of the system which we are introducing here. And as you know, the damping is nothing but it is the resistance to the motion to a vibrating system. So the main purpose of the damping in the vibration system is to remove to reduce the amplitude of vibration at resonance. And as you already seen that in the undamped vibrations, resonance amplitude will become very large and it may cause the damage to the system. So to avoid that condition, we provide some damping in a system. So damping may be large or damping may be small in a system. Whatever damping you have in a system, it will result in a decay in the amplitude cycle by cycle, and the decay in the amplitude basically depends upon the type of damping which we have in a system as well as the amount of damping present in the system. So in this chapter we will be discussing and we will be finding out the frequency of damp vibrations as well as the rate of decay in the vibration systems because of damping. So we have a different types of damping in a system. So here the most frequently used damping is the viscous damping. All right. It is also known as a fluid damping. So this is the most important type of damping, and it is uh, easy to because it has basically two reasons to for its widely applications in the system. Number one, because of this, our differential equation will become linear, and it makes because of that we can use the law of superimposition of the solution of the differential equations. And secondly, in this damping is very easy to model as compared to other damping. And moreover, this type of damping will be present in a system when we have a some piston arrangements in the damping where the sliding surfaces will be moving in some lubricated environment having some small clearance. So the amount of damping because of the viscous damping depends upon too many parameters like relative velocity, and also depending upon the clearance between the piston and the cylinder, also depends upon the length of the piston, also depends upon the viscosity of the fluid and so on. So but for the viscous damping, your damping resistance is always proportional to the relative velocity. So it means you can say damping force is proportional to velocity, that is your x dot, or I can say it is equal to cx dot, where c is the damping coefficient of the system, and again this c will be having a unit as Newton per meter per second. This is the unit of this damping. So I will be discussing this damping first, and then I will be going to the second and third, fourth damping appropriate point. So now let us consider this is a single degree freedom system of spring mass having a stiffness K and mass M. It is in kg, and this is in Newton per meter, and again this will be having a unit of, this is a damper here, or you can say dashpot. It will be having a unit of Newton per meter per second. So this is the basically a equilibrium position of the mass when we suspend the mass to a spring and the dashpot which has been put in the parallel combination. So when I apply a instantaneous displacement of x to the mass m, then you will be having a acceleration in the downward direction and velocity also in the same direction. So here you will be having some accelerating force mx double dot, and you will be having some internal uh, spring force, that is your kx. Again you are having a internal damping force which is again compressive, because externally these are the tensile forces for the damping and the damper and the spring. It become c into x dot. So if I draw a free body diagram of this, it has been shown here. This is your free body diagram of the mass. So here you are having a then it means I need to consider these forces for a free body diagram. You are having a accelerating force here. So this has been shown here. So here this is your accelerating force, and this is your damping force, and this one force which has been shown here. So now you can apply the Newton's second law here, and you can write the accelerating force is equal to restoring force. So you can say this is your, you are having a accelerating force is equal to restoring force. And if I consider downward direction as a positive one, so upward will become negative. This is positive direction, it become negative direction. So you can say here mx double dot is equal to minus cx dot minus kx. Or I can say this is your mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to 0. So this is your desired equation of motion for the damp free vibrations. So this is the equation here. This is the fundamental differential equation of motion for single degree of freedom system having a damping in it, but it is a free vibration. Now this differential equation is basically a second order linear differential equation, and from your mathematics uh, knowledge, this will be having a solution in the form of x is equal to e raised to power st, where s is a constant which will be determined from problem to problems. Now again I need the derivative of x with respect to t and double derivative. So I can write the 2 here. This is your first derivative of the x, and second is given by this. So when you put the value of these two in the equation, you are getting ms square est plus cs est plus k est. So again you can take the common term here. This is your est. So because est cannot be 0 for all value of t, so this must be 0 for the system, and this is known as a characteristics equation of the system. So this equation will come out to be in matrix form when we deal with the multi-degree system. It will become basically some system here. Now this is basically is a quadratic equation in S, and so it will be having a two roots or two values, and the two roots of the value can be given by minus b plus minus b square minus is missing here, b square minus 4 minus b plus minus b square minus 4ac upon 2a, and this is the roots of this equation. So once you get the root of this equation, and you know that the general solution of this differential equation which we have derived can be given by superimposition of these two uh, solutions. It is given by C1E S1T plus C2E S2T. So here C1 and C2 are the arbitrary constant. C1 and C2 are the arbitrary constant, and which needs to be determined by using initial conditions. Initial conditions. It means these are the conditions which are defined at time is equal to 0. We are able to write this equation in a superimposition manner because our differential equation was linear in nature. If you see, this is our equation here. So damping force is function of velocity only, then spring force function of x, accelerating force function of x is x double dot or acceleration. So these are all the basically linear terms. So because of that reasons, we are able to write the solution of this equation as a superimposition of these two solutions. So this we will be using frequently, and we will be finding C1 plus C2 from the initial condition. Now let us, before going further, let us define some important terms. Number one, critical damping. It is denoted by CC. So this is the damping when your radical sign, that is your square root term, vanishes. It means you can see here when this square root terms vanishes or is equal to 0 here, then your C will become CC. So in that case you can say CC upon 2m is equal to square root of k upon m, is nothing but omega n. So you can say Cc is nothing but 2m omega m, or you can also say 2 square root of km. So you know that for a given system, spring stiffness and the mass of the suspended there is constant once the system has been designed. So for a given system, this Cc is also a constant, and it do not depend upon the damping. It simply depend upon the mass and the stiffness of the system. Now this is your, you can write this is the same thing which I derive here. This is your Cc is equal to 2 m omega n. Omega n is the basically undamped free natural frequency in radian per second. Now we will define another term here, that is your dimensionless factor zeta. It's nothing but it is the ratio of damping to the critical damping. So here, now if you know the, this is the term which you have got in the equation, solution equation, S1 and S2. So I can write C is nothing but I can divide Cc and multiply Cc here. It become your damping here, and it become your omega n. So you can say the first term of the square root is basically zeta omega n. So now if you put the value of this second term here, so if I again go back to this equation, so here you can see this will come out to be S1 comma 2 is equal to C upon 2m is nothing but zeta omega n plus minus square root of zeta square minus 1 into omega n. So I can take it out zeta plus minus square root of zeta square minus 1 into omega n. This is the equation here. So you got this equation here. This is your this equation. So in terms of dimensionless coefficient of damping zeta and the undamped natural frequency omega n, this is the square root is solution of the quadratic equation. Now here you can have a three possible cases. One is when zeta is more than 1, it is known as a overdamping. And for this case you can see here, for the again for the system, this value will be less than zeta. So overall you are having a minus zeta plus zeta which is less than minus zeta. So you are having a negative value. Again it means that you are having a two real negative roots, and these two roots are unequal. So this is known as a overdamped system. When zeta is equal to 1, then you are having a two real roots, but they are equal. Again the roots are negative. In the third case, your roots will be complex and conjugate. So I will describe all these three type of damping in the just now, and you will see that in the first two damping, the system do not vibrate. You are having a non-oscillatory motion. while in the third case the system will vibrate. And so this, and that's why this is the most important and pertinent case for vibration analysis. This basically system will vibrate. So I will be discussing this in detail. I will devote less time for the first two cases and um, sufficient time for the third cases. So here, this is known as a first case where you have a overdam system. In this system, damping is comparatively very large, and so both the roots are given by this, and you will see that these two roots are negative. So if I put the value of this in our equation, then you are getting a x is equal to e raised to power minus zeta plus this. Basically, it is equal to c1 e raised to power s1 t plus c2 e raised to power s2 t. So I can use this equation here, and this is the final solution for a overdam system. And this is for general behavior of a system. If you want to find c1 and c2 for this, then you need to apply some initial conditions. And you will see here both the roots are negative here. So your x1, so I can write in general form x is equal to c1 e raised to power minus 80, some constant for the first one, plus c2 e raised to power minus bt. So you can see here this displacement x is a function of e raised to power minus 80. So it means that this x will decay exponentially. And because of this exponential decay in the amplitude of the x here, you will not get any vibration. So if you want to find the C1, C2, then you can have some conditions here. This is your initial velocity condition and initial displacement conditions. And you can find the C1 and C2 accordingly. And this is the journal initial journal displacement with respect to time. And you will say that system is simply having a exponential decay, and it is not crossing the x into the negative side. And because of this, the system will come to its equilibrium condition. This is your equilibrium condition. So with passage of time, the system will come to its equilibrium conditions, but it will take infinite time theoretically. So you are having this, you can find C1, C2 by using mathematical concept here. So if I draw, now I am drawing another thing here, that is your, this is your displacement of the mass, and this is your amplitude of that. So ratio of these two is known as a dimensionless amplitude. So, so if you are having a damping factor is 10, then you will see that the graphs are coming to the x side, x axis. So, but if you are having a higher damping, the system is more sluggish, and it will take longer time to come to its equilibrium condition. So as we decrease to more than 1, up to this is more than 1, the system will again be sluggish but not so much, and it may take smaller time to come to its equilibrium condition. And because of that reasons, you are having a aperiodic motion because of the exponential decay of the X here. Now second one is your critically damped system. For this system, your zeta is equal to 1, and because of that reason, your S1 and S2 will become minus omega n. Right? If I go back to the equation here, so this is basically cancel out. It become minus zeta omega n. So again, for this type of two equal roots of a quadratic equation of differential equation, then we are having a this mathematical concept to write the solution of the equation. This is your C1 plus C2x. C1 S plus C2 T into S1 and S2 here. So here this is given by this. You can take common term outside, it become this equation C1 plus C2 into T into e raised to omega t. Now again, if you can again find the C1 and C2 constant for the same initial conditions. This is given by this. So at t is equal to 0, x is equal to x naught. This is giving you this value. And similarly at t is equal to 0, x dot is equal to 0. This is giving you this equation. So this is your this equation. So you got the value of C1 and C2 here. You can put the value of C1, C2 in the equation and can have a general equations in this form. This is the general displacement for a critically damped system for these two initial conditions. And again, I can have a non-dimensionless displacement time curve which I have plotted on the same one. This is your another curve for zeta is equal to 1. And you will see that this curve is always lying all the curves of overdamped system. And this is again for this one, you have seen that this is again having a exponential decay of the amplitude of x. And because of that reasons, you will again have a periodic motion of the mass. So this is the limiting condition, you can say. This is the limiting conditions for a aperiodic motion. If you decrease the zeta less than 1, then you will start getting the periodic motions or vibratory motion of a system. So critical damping is that damping up to which you will be having a aperiodic motions, and this is the damping which will take the least amount to come to its equilibrium position when the system is disturbed as compared to all other dampings, over damping. Now let us come to the third damping. This is your under damping system. In this case, zeta is less than 1. So your this root will become complex conjugate roots. These two are the complex and complex conjugate roots. So I simply change gt square minus 1 here just to take minus square root minus outside. So again, this is the general solution of the complex conjugate roots of the differential equation discussed earlier. So I can take this term outside, it comes out to be like this, and you are getting a C1 plus C2 this way. Now I can write complex number as a cos A plus minus J sin A. When I put the value here of this, when I use this formula for this equation, you will get this equation. This is your C1 plus this one here. So I can take similar term come together. Then you are having a C1 plus C2, some cosine term, then plus C1 minus C2 into J into sine term. So you are getting this equation here. This is the general equation for this. So if I assume this C1A is equal to A and assume this B here, then you are getting a first solution in this form. We can have a three form of solution for this equation. So first one is this one here, or I can put A and B in a reverse manner. Okay, this is all right. Now here this A and B are real. So it means, and because of that reason, your C1 and C2 will become a complex conjugate quantities. You can have a other way around. If I assume C1 is equal to A plus JB and C2 is equal to A minus JB, then your C1 plus C2, your so your C1 and C2 are complex conjugate quantities. It become 2A, and your C1 minus C2 into J will become J square into B here, 2B. It become minus 2B here. So you can see here basically nothing but this is your A and this is your B, which I have shown here. So it means C1 plus C2 all two are the real quantities, and this will make the C1 and C2 complex conjugate. So this solution will have three forms. The first one is given by here. In the second form, we'll be having only cosine term, and third one will be having a sine term. In all the three form, you will find two unknown coefficients. In the first case, it is A and B. In the second case, A1 and phi 1. In the third case, A2 and phi 2. And these three uh, constants needs to be evaluated by using initial conditions. So in these three equations, you are getting this term everywhere. This is known as a omega d, or damped frequency for a free vibration. and you can see, and your zeta here, zeta can vary from 0 to 1. It will be more than 0 and it will be less than 1. So if you increase the zeta in this range, your omega d will decrease as zeta increases. So it means for the higher value of zeta, you are having a lower value of omega d, and your omega n is basically a undamped natural frequency in radian per second. Generally, for most of the cases, your damping in the system will vary between 0 to 0.001 to 0.05. This is in the most general cases, but it cannot be taken as always. This is your damp frequency. Now here you can see one more thing. In all the three equations, you are getting this e raised to power omega, zeta omega and t. You are getting a oscillation because of this sine and cosine term in the equation. And you are getting the decay in the amplitude because of this e raised to power minus zeta omega t. So you will be getting a decay in the amplitude because of this exponential decay. So you are having a exponential decay here. So if you draw the enveloping curve, this is your exponential decay here. And this is basically governed by that amplitude of the equation. It can be either a1 e minus zeta omega t or a2 this one. And you can say decay in the every amplitude. This is the decay in the amplitude of the vibration. So again, if you want to find the C1, C2 constant here, you can again do this here. So now let me tell you one more thing. Generally, we are preferring this third form for analysis of the equation of vibration system. So this is the most preferred form for the solution. So here we will be finding A2 and phi2 constants for a given conditions at is time is equal to 0. So you can say here at t is equal to 0, your x is equal to x naught. And when you put this value here in this in the first equation, so this is your x naught is equal to a2 e raised to power it is minus 0, then sine this is again 0, it becomes sine phi 2. So this is your this value. Now when I put the value of conditions here that at t is equal to 0, x dot is equal to 0, in that case you can see you are having this first term, this is 0, and then you are having a t is equal to 0, so it become only cos phi 2, then minus this a2 zeta, then omega n2, this again sine you are having a sine phi 2. So you are getting the value here, this is given by this one. This is the for the second condition. So from this, so you are getting a first condition here and second condition here. So you can find 8. So from this, you can find the 10 phi 2. A2 is cancel out here. You can find 10 phi 2 is nothing but 1 minus zeta square upon zeta here. So from this you can find sine phi 2. Okay, this is, you can find it, you can make a triangle here. This is your phi 2 and this is your 1 minus zeta square upon zeta. It become 1 here. So you are getting a sine phi 2 here is equal to 1 upon square root of 1 minus zeta square. And from the first one you can find A2. So you have got A2 here. So when you put the value of A2 and phi 2 here, you are getting this equation. So this is the generalized equation for a given initial conditions for a underdamped system. And your this one is basically the amplitude of the free damped vibration, which is basically decaying exponentially with time. So theoretically you can say that system will never come to the rest, but in real life this will come to the rest at certain point of time. So here I can now, you are getting a vibration or oscillation because of this sine term, as I mentioned earlier. So if I draw this equation along with other equations, this is your critical damp graph. And when you decrease this zeta less than 1, then it is 0.8, this is 0.6, 0.4, 0.2, 0.1, and then you are having a 0. It is become a undamped vibration. So you will be getting a graph going below and below to the negative side of the x-axis. So here this is your uh, less less in the negative direction, then more and more and more. When it is 0 here, then you are having a same amplitude here. But for all other zeta, the damping will be decaying exponentially. So now here, for a slightly damped system, for a lightly damped system, we can assume that omega d is approximately equal to omega n. But don't assume this one for numerical problems. But for practical purpose, we can assume like this. So if zeta is equal to 0.2, then omega d, which is nothing but square root of 1 minus zeta square into omega n, will come out to be 0.98. It means you are having only a 2% error in the in the frequency estimation. And so to elaborate this, we can have a dimensionless here. This is your zeta varying from 0 to 1. This is your ratio of omega d upon omega n. It comes out to be square root of 1 minus zeta square. So when you can plot this with respect to zeta, and this is the graph here. So for up to zero point 0.2, it is basically simply 0.98. So you have only the 2% error here. So now I can summarize all the three types of damping here. So number one, for a over damped system and critically damped system, you will be having a periodic motion. While for the under damped system, you will be having a oscillatory motion. This is the first point. and we basically are interested only in vibratory motions. It means we will be considering the underdamped system more frequently than other systems. Number two, critical damping is the least amount of damping. For that, a system can have non-oscillatory motion or aperiodic motion. So you can so our main purpose of providing the damping is that to reduce the resonant amplitude from infinite to finite value. So for a undamped system, this amplitude is infinite. But if we provide even a small amount of damping in a system, it will become a finite system, finite amplitude. And because of that reasons, your chances of failure of a system will reduce substantially. So this is all about this undamped damped systems. So this first problem I will not solve. This is a basically a simple problem. Now I can solve the second problem of this book. So the problem states that we are having a mass of 10 kg. It has been put on some floor, and in between mass and the floor we are putting a two isolators, rubber and the felt. And these two, rubber and felt, are having a stiffness of 3000 Newton meter and 12,000 Newton meter. And they are also having a damping property of 100 Newton meter per second and 330 Newton meter per second. So as we have put the felt and the rubber one above other, it means these two felt and rubbers are in series. So I can basically model this whole system into a mass M supported by two springs and the two damp dashboards, and these two are put in the series. So here now I will be finding the equivalent stiffness of these two springs and similarly the equivalent damping of these two, and this is given by Ke and Ce. So again, to find the Ke, you are having a 1 upon Ke is equal to 1 upon Kf plus 1 upon Kr. So when you put the value here, it becomes 3000 plus 12,000, and this is giving you the value of Ke 5 upon 12,000, or Ke is equal to, you can say, 2400 Newton per meter. Similarly, I can find Ce. Your Ce will be nothing but 1 upon 100 upon 1 upon 0.30. It becomes 0.13, or it is, or I can say Ce will become 77 Newton second per meter. So this is your simple mass systems which I have just analyzed. So for that you can find the various parameters. Number one, omega n, nothing but K upon m. This is your one answer. It is equal to 2 pi Fn, and you are getting this value. And omega d is given by this formula. And to find the zeta here, we need to find C. Here basically C is equal to Ce, equivalent. It is equal to C here. So you can find C, it become basically 0.249. Once you got this 0.249, you put the value of zeta here and you will be getting a omega d for this. So again, this is given by 2 pi into Fd, damp frequency in hertz, and so you are getting the value of Fd here in this manner. So this you can solve here. And regarding the first problem, it is simply a you have been given a basically a some conditions here. You can solve this. You are having a spring mass dashpot system, having a some initial conditions. Velocity is given by a omega n, and you have been given a three different types of damping here. So for every damping, you can find the square roots here. S1, S2 is given by minus zeta plus minus zeta square minus 1 into omega n. When you put the two value, you are getting a is equal to minus 0.27 omega nt and minus 3.73 omega nt. These are the two roots. So you can have these two roots here. Roots basically t will not be there. So you can put the value here and you are getting a this equation. Then you can have the x dot here. Then put the conditions of given to you. So conditions are given here. This is your x is equal to 0 to 1 and so on. So you can find the value of C1 and C2 from this, which comes out to be like this. So this is your equation of displacement for the overdamp system having a damping factor 2. You can do similarly for other. This is your for the critical damping, you are having this formula. Again apply the same conditions here, you will get this equation. Again you can solve the C1 C2, and this is your equation of displacement for critically damped system. For under damped system, again you are having the same thing. So this is the displacement for under damped system having zeta is equal to zero point 0.2. Zeta is equal to 0.2 here. Okay. So now you got the three equations: over damped system equation, under damped, critical damped. So you can plot these equations here. This is the plot of this equation. So you get this is the over damped system equation displacement curve. This is the critically damped displacement curve, and this is the displacement curve for under damped system. And in that way you can have a clear distinction of these three types of damping for a mechanical vibrations. This is all about this lecture class. You can ask any doubt if you have. Okay, then I will wind up this lecture at this moment and will continue with some more things about the under damped system in the next class.